Good day, everyone. My clock has 3 minutes past the hour, and as promised, we're going to go ahead and get started with this month's monthly webinar. Thank you all for joining in today, and please take the opportunity to go to the handout section and retrieve either by download or by printing the items that we have there for you in the handout section. So happy that you could join us today. So we don't want to delay the time. We're going to go ahead and get started. And thank you to everyone for joining in. Welcome to this month's webinar, The Weather and Your Wallet. Don't let natural disasters destroy your life or your finances. COVID-19 was the biggest natural disaster in a century, but we're here today to talk about the natural disasters that come like clockwork every year. Now, we're not trying to depress you, but actually raise your spirits. Preparing for natural disasters isn't hard, and neither is it expensive. Once you do it, you'll have peace of mind because you're prepared for anything. When you have a disaster plan, you worry less and enjoy life a little more, even now as we emerge from a pandemic. Now, of course, natural disasters, they aren't polite. They don't stand in line and wait their turn. COVID-19 didn't deter wildfires, hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, or floods. And if 2022 is anything like past years, most of the country will be in the path of something bad. No matter what the year, no part of the United States is immune from natural disasters. Wherever you are right now listening to me, you are vulnerable to a natural disaster. Thankfully, it's not hard to convince people to care about natural disasters. When was the last time 70% of people in this country agreed on anything? Well, in a poll by the insurance company Allstate, 7 in 10 Americans were worried about natural disasters. Then again, 3/4 of us aren't doing anything about it. According to that same survey, only 1 in 4 Americans have a disaster plan, which is sad because they're not hard to make. It takes just a little time and even less money. Let's start by talking about disaster preparation that costs nothing. There are 3 key things you can do right now. Gather all your key documents, organize everything you'll need to get compensated for any destruction, and design evacuation routes and when you'll use them. Let's take a quick look at each. First, gather up all your paperwork you'll need in case the worst happens. Most importantly, that means insurance policies. Check your policies to make sure you're properly covered. If not, time to talk to your insurance agent. If so, write down the name, address, and claims reporting telephone number of your insurance company. And remember, this might be different from your agent's contact information. Next, whip out your phone and take pictures of everything of value in your house. Don't forget to shoot not only that nice couch, but also all your jewelry and other collectibles. If you have documents attesting to their value, gather those too. Even take photos of those documents. Store them on the cloud for free using Google Drive or similar options. Of course, we're not a paperless society just yet. So you definitely need to safely store any hard copies of important documents. And it needs to be portable too. If you must evacuate, you want to grab everything you'll need and don't worry you've left something behind. That's why the worst time to gather up your documentation is right before you need to head out. Now, some people buy a portable and waterproof metal lockbox for hundreds of dollars, and you can see them advertised on Amazon and at stores like Walmart and Target. But you don't need to buy one of these pricey options. We've known many people who keep their documents safely stored in cheap Tupperware. It's waterproof and lightweight, and best of all, it's cheap. Whatever works for you, as long as it's protected and at your fingertips. When many people hear the word evacuation, they think it only means get out now. They don't often consider, where am I going? So, a solid evacuation plan actually answers two important questions that can save you money and even save your life. First, what's the safest and quickest route away from the natural disaster? Now, if it's a hurricane, you have more time to plan than if it's a tornado. But either way, you want to map it out now. In the case of the former, a hurricane gives you a lot of notice, but you often have to get very far away to get out of the storm's path. Or tornado can give you only minutes, and you need to think about shelter close by. Speaking of location, where is the safest and cheapest place to land? That could be the home of a nearby friend or faraway relative, or it could be a government or private shelter. But you want to figure that out now. Otherwise, you'll get the first part right and get out of danger, but you won't have a destination to wait out the worst of it. That can be costly, it can be uncomfortable, and maybe even deadly. Technology doesn't just make it easier to order stuff online and make your TV sets bigger and brighter. Technology has made it safer to survive natural disasters. And it's not expensive either. Great strides and innovations have been made in products that can help you out during a natural disaster. And they're not expensive either. For instance, you can buy a thermal emergency blanket for around $15, a good solar charger for your smartphone is around $20. Same for a personal water filter. Best of all, these items last a long time, so you don't have to buy them again. Even the emergency food, while it's not exactly gourmet fare, it's relatively cheap and lasts for up to a decade. Each kind of natural disaster requires different supplies, although some are universal. Here's the problem: most disaster supplies are purchased at exactly the wrong time. During hurricane season, for example, most bottled water is sold 48 hours before the storm is scheduled to hit, leading not only to shortages but price gouging. So, what's the solution? The best advice sounds weird. Shopping for disaster supplies is just like shopping for holiday gifts. Why? Because it's best to do it off season. You'll save more. Look for deals year round, not just on the eve of, say, tornado season. Shop for blizzard supplies in the summer. Shop for hurricane supplies in the winter. Not only will you save money shopping off season, if a natural disaster is approaching or strikes, you'll have one less thing to worry about. You won't forget something important because you're in a panic, and you'll have that peace of mind we mentioned earlier. Now, we could spend an entire webinar on preparing for each kind of natural disaster, but thankfully, there's no shortage of excellent advice on exactly what to do to prep for each kind of disaster, from the best masks to breathe during a wildfire to how much bottled water you'll need after a hurricane. If you don't know where to go first, start with us. We've compiled a simple booklet on natural disasters that isn't the end of the information you'll need, but it's a really good beginning. While we're talking about beginning your research, let's focus on one key fact about each kind of natural disaster that often gets overlooked. For instance, even if you've gone through a hurricane before, and even if you prepared for it very well, you might not know this: flooding kills more people and costs more in property damage than the high winds do. It's the storm surge from the ocean that's more deadly than the gale force winds. In some ways, calling wildfires a natural disaster isn't accurate, since almost all of them are caused by human beings either acting clumsily or maliciously. Thus, more wildfires start in areas where camping is allowed than in remote wilderness areas. So check to see where camping is allowed near you, because that's something you need to keep your eye on. Although tornado season is traditionally March through May in the South, they peak in the summer up north, and they can happen in any state in the country. Only Alaska is usually spared, although it last had one documented in 2005. So, unless you live in Alaska, don't ever say it can't happen here. Earthquakes are the most common natural occurrence on this list, except no one feels most of them. Of the 500,000 that happen each year, human beings feel only 100 of them, and only feel 10,000 of them, and only 100 cause any damage to property or claim lives. But earthquakes are among the most dangerous, most damaging natural disasters. In this country alone, they cause more than $4 billion a year, according to FEMA. Flooding is the one natural disaster that follows many other natural disasters. As we mentioned, hurricanes can cause flooding, but so can tornadoes and earthquakes. So called no name storms cause flooding too. Did you know 90% of all U.S. natural disasters declared by the president involve some sort of flooding? It's also the one natural disaster that can happen anywhere. That's even in Alaska. No matter what natural disaster hits you, the recovery process is almost always the same. Yet, more injuries, costs, and even deaths result from people simply not following this basic advice. First, don't venture outside until you get the all clear from officials. This isn't the time to sightsee the damage. Downed power lines and other dangers lurk everywhere. Second, spend your time close to home, assessing your family's needs and documenting any property damage. Third, use your disaster supplies for eating, drinking, cleaning, and washing. Don't try venturing out to buy anything. That's all basic stuff. But what about financially recovering from a natural disaster? If you suffer any damage from a natural disaster and you and your family are safe, the next step is to ensure your finances are safe. Now, let's double back and take advantage of all the preparation you did earlier. Remember when I talked about putting all your valuable documents in one safe place? Well, now it's time to consult them. Break out those insurance policies. Call the agents representing you right away. Don't expect them to get right back to you since they're slammed with other claims. But the sooner you call, the sooner you will hear back. Also, contact your lenders and ask for grace periods and extensions. That's everything from your mortgage to your credit cards. They have protocols for this, so it can be quite easy to do. If your home is damaged and you can't stay there, don't forget to tell your utility companies. They can suspend your service and save you some money. And now we come to the most important slide of this presentation. After a natural disaster, you might feel like your world has been turned upside down and you're not alone at all. You might not have cell phone service, only heightening your sense of loneliness. But the fact is, you're not alone. You have help available to you, and much of it is free. Some of it actually gives you money. Let's review that quickly. Once you get back online, your first step is to visit consumerfinance.gov/recover. That website offers step-by-step instructions for recovering from every kind of natural disaster. If you're in a presidentially declared disaster area, go to disasterassistance.gov to learn how to claim some aid. Go to the homepage of your state's website to see if you qualify for state aid. And even if you're not in an official disaster area, you can also call the Red Cross at 800 Red Cross to see about financial aid, shelter, free meals, free clothing, and even some personal hygiene supplies. One service Consolidated Credit has long provided is free priority counseling for those affected by natural disasters. For nearly 3 decades, we've offered a free debt analysis from a certified credit counselor. But after a natural disaster, we've offered even more help. Keep this number handy, and after you seek out the help on the previous slide, make sure to give us a call. Now, let's talk briefly about who not to call. After a natural disaster, scammers descend upon the area. Some are shady contractors who offer to fix up your property for cheap, but only if you pay in cash, upfront, and right away. Never pay up front. Pay as the work gets done. Always get estimates from more than one contractor and make sure they're licensed and bonded. You might also get phone calls from official sounding people demanding you give them your social security number and other personal details. Ask for their number so you can call them back. And if they're reluctant, hang up. In fact, if you're not sure what to do, the best advice is to do nothing. Like we just said, there's plenty of free help out there, so you don't need to fall for any scams to get the assistance you need. Natural disasters are only fun in the movies. In real life, they're scary and costly. But with a little planning and just a little money, you can weather the storm. Today was just an overview, just a starting point. But as you can see, it's not as daunting as you might think. Now, if you're in debt right now, this is a good time to call Consolidated Credit and save money that can go into an emergency fund and disaster supplies. Call us before trouble arrives. Thank you so much for listening, and enjoy the rest of your day. Now, should you have any questions, as I stated at the beginning of this webinar, please give us a call. Okay, the number is not here on the screen, but I can give you the number. It's going to be 800-810-3481. That is 800-810-3481. 3481. Should you have any questions, please direct your questions to questions at consolidatedcredit.org. That's questions at consolidatedcredit.org. Thank you so much for your time spent with us today for this month's webinar. We would hope that you would join us not only for our monthly webinar, but please visit our website at consolidatedcredit.org, or rather www.consolidatedcredit.org, to see what monthly or see what webinars we may have at various times. Again, thank you for joining us today, and may the rest of your day be the best of your day. Take care now. Bye-bye.